All right, everyone. So we are recording. Let's dive right into it. Jake, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ramon. I appreciate it. I do want to just kind of plug in a couple of different just pieces here to make a connection with everyone. Sebastian, to your point about a goal of yours working for U.S. Department of State, we actually have an informational interview, information session with the U.S. Department of State on March 1st. They're going to be having a Zoom session. I can send you, the information link to register and all that. We're very excited to have them. They have many positions, recruiting for many different majors. So I just wanted to let you all know about that and make
Please
that.
do.
Yeah,
You'll
absolutely.
be able to send it to me, the link to,
Yeah.
it's on March 1st.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I can do is, you know, I'll be sure to, follow up with you all and have that link provided before we close here, or, if I'm able to get your emails, be able to send that information out in more detail to you too as well. So we have that event coming up that we're very excited about. We also have an event that my colleague who's with us here, Lisa Soul, has worked very hard to create and make, and that's our virtual mentorship and networking night on March 3rd. And that will be for careers in psychology and sociology. So just hearing, for some that may have interest in careers in those fields, that's a great event to participate in, getting to talk to professionals in the field who, a majority of them, actually all of them that we have so far are dolphins like yourself and have graduated from CSUCI. So they have that perspective of not only being a CSUCI student, but they have some insight into potentially working in opportunities that might be of interest to you. So I highly suggest attending both of those events. It's a great way to learn more about what's out there, and get to network, expand your network that you have already, and explore opportunities that might connect to you. So I will definitely be sending that information out to you all if you're interested, and I can get your emails and be able to do that by the end of today.
And we also, I just thank you, Jake, for that information. That's great. We also put the link in the chat box for appointments. So you can go ahead and schedule an appointment with one of the career counselors. Do it now, following this session, so you can get that more personal, like that one-on-one, and get that information from one of the counselors. Highly, highly, highly recommend that you become very familiar with the career counselors, even by first name. Just kind of hang out in the career center and just get that information from them. It's very useful. So if you can go ahead and schedule that appointment, please do. And the link is in the chat.
Right. Awesome. Thank you, Ramon. And let's get into it. So we can go to the first slide here. Yeah, outcomes. So the point of this presentation for us all to think about is we want to go over the foundational components. So the main sections that we should add in a resume. We want to also go into accomplishment statements. So when we're speaking about our experiences, how do we write those, and how do we connect those to our goals, and as well as tailoring those towards a position that we are applying to. We'll keep going here. So you've heard about resumes, written resumes. They're a first impression, right? It's maybe potentially the first thing that somebody will read about you. It doesn't necessarily give you a position, give you that job, but it's that next step in the job application process. And as we know, for each job that you apply to, you're gonna want to work on your resume and improve it each time.
So quick question, Jake. So in this situation where you say that it needs to be customized for the position, do you recommend that that the students go ahead and just completely revamp their resume, or is there certain skills that are applicable, like to whatever types of jobs they're applying for? What are the transferable skills?
Great question, Ramon. Yeah, so it's not necessarily revamping your whole entire resume for every job. That would be a ton of work. However, there's a couple key sections, a couple key parts on your resume that if you make intentional changes towards, to be specific towards the opportunity you're applying to, that would effectively help you in tailoring your resume. So the one section we'll talk about that you would want to put some intention in tailoring and changing every time is your summary of qualification sections,
Okay.
as well as the accomplishment statements that you're writing for your experiences and the experiences listings that you have or skills that you're writing about. So your accomplishment statements and the summary section will be the ones that you'll change every time.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move on.
All right. So there's no formula to writing resumes. We'll talk about some of the key components that should go into it. But essentially, if you follow and have these main components and follow a certain format and layout, you'll have a resume that's very effective. But just know there's no one formula to this. It's more of an art form. And there are certain structures to writing resumes. There's a chronological structure, which essentially orders your work from most recent first to oldest last. And, you know, showing a work history kind of chronologically in that timeline, showing your growth and development. There's also structuring your resume based upon skills and functions that are relevant towards the position and writing accomplishment statements based on those skills. And additionally, lastly, you can also have a combination of both chronologically listing out your work experiences as well as listing out skills too.
Quick question, Jake. What if I've never had any work experience? Let's just say, as an undergrad, what resume structure would you recommend that I use?
That's a really great question, Ramon. So there's a few options I would recommend and I would offer to someone who might not have work experience or direct related work experiences. One, maybe structuring a skills functional resume where you're highlighting more just relevant skills and accomplishments that you've done towards those skills that are relevant. Or you can add in relevant project sections for projects you've completed in classes that are relevant
Okay.
positions, or a relevant coursework section,
Okay.
or including sections or listings about your volunteerships, clubs, any experiences that you've had that can showcase those transferable skills that would relate to the position.
Oh, so I could add my coursework on there as in a skills resume. I'd be able to add let's just say I was a biology student and, you know, I was doing lab work or whatnot, that I could add that to the resume.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
And definitely highlighting your laboratory experience and being, you know, experienced in a laboratory setting. That's really important. So yeah, you can definitely add in courses you've taken, projects you've completed, and highlight those on your resume as well.
Could we also add like like formal, like paid jobs, like anything like I know you mentioned volunteer experience, but like I don't know, let's just say somebody volunteers to help with their church to, I don't know, to teach a classroom every weekend or whatnot. And they want to become a teacher. Would I be able to use that skill? Like, you know, I taught a Sunday school class and I want to become a teacher. Would I be able to use that non-formal experience on my resume?
Absolutely, yeah. I think even the more that it connects towards the position and opportunity you're applying to, the more so that you should highlight that on your resume. There might be a misconception that you can only put paid work on your resume. That's not true at all.
Okay.
What you should be thinking about is what experiences have you had in your career so far that relate to what you want to be doing, to what you are applying to. And if, let's say, you've maybe held a club officer position and you've done work, you know, putting on events for the club or meetings or bringing in speakers, you know, any kind of coordination, organization, planning, and presenting, right? These are all functional skills too that you can be talking about, right? Not paid work, but a way to demonstrate leadership and initiative and skill sets that you're using that are transferable.
Well, great, thank you. One more question, Jake. Is there any situations where the like you can make an exception for the chronological order? Let's just say I've had some experience, some volunteer experience, an internship a few years back, but I've done a few other jobs since then that aren't relevant to the position. Do you recommend that I just go ahead and move the more relevant experience up in that situation and highlight that experience?
Yeah, really good
Oh,
question. You can definitely do that, and I would
okay.
recommend that as well. Actually having that one, volunteership experience that's more relevant in its own section that's maybe even titled relevant work or
Got it.
relevant work experience. That way you're putting it up more towards the top of the resume, and we can show you all this and later on in our
Okay.
presentation. And then that's coming out and more highlighted. And then the other section can highlight your, other work experiences and be chronologically listed there as well too. But having
Okay.
that one be, more towards the top would be important, so that you
Okay.
can showcase that.
Wow, truly is an art, huh?
It
Okay.
is. It really much is.
Right.
So, are there any? I just want to pause for a moment. Are there any questions, any thoughts, comments so far about resumes or resume writing that we're talking about?
Will we have access to this PowerPoint or document?
Hi, Morgan. That's a great question. So what we're gonna do is we're recording the workshop, and we're gonna go ahead and upload it onto our YouTube website. So you'll be able to replay the video as many times as you would like, and we can go ahead and share the link to the YouTube channel in the chat as well for you to view as many times as you'd like. And we also put the link in the chat to go ahead and schedule an appointment with a career counselor as well, so you can get more of that one-on-one, with them as well, and get that information as well.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think this is actually a really great spot to put in the chronological resume template link. I will ask Bonnie for help on that. This template we'll put in the chat. It's actually a Word document that you can just pull up. That's the handbook. That's actually our PDF document, 80-page long document, has all a bunch of great stuff in there. There's a template we have that if you use that format and layout is already there for you. And we can provide you that as well. The handbook has so many great information, and thank you so much, Bonnie, for putting in all these great content for students to review. If you want, you can take a moment to pull that Word document up, and as we're going through these different sections, you can kind of see the layout yourself as we're talking about it. Don't let it be a distraction to our communication and dialogue today, but just wanted to bring that to the time here. But yeah, there's 5 main sections that we're going to go over: the header, the summary of qualifications, which is humbly my favorite, my section of the resume, the education section, the work experience section, and professional involvement development section. Now the header is pretty straightforward. This is going to be your name, your address, which could just be your city, state, zip code, and then followed by your email and phone number. And it should go to the top of the page, and it'll look something just like this. Go to the next
Quick
slide.
question, Jake, before we move forward. Are there any exceptions that from your professional view that the address should be excluded, and is there any times where you think it should just necessarily be included, or?
Yeah, so good question. One note I would make to adding an address is, being strategic, right? So if you're applying to opportunities that are around your area, let's say if you're in Ventura County and you're applying to internships within Ventura County, you could list that, that you're in Ventura, California, and then the zip code. And that way, it just indicates that you're from the local area. And there wouldn't be any concerns about potentially you being able to attend the work or have any issues accessing the work employment. So great question. Yeah.
Great.
The format of that we'll see on this next slide here. Will look just like this. And Marta's name, And then again, you can add city, state, and zip code, and that can just go right in between name and then the phone number and email. But just having that up towards the top of the page, right center, so that employers or whoever else can read that will know that it's your resume.
Do you recommend that our students use their MyCI email when they are applying for positions? I know this looks like a professional email, first last name @gmail.com. This is an exceptional one, but I know all of our students do have a MyCI email with that .edu at the end of it. Do you recommend that our students use that email, or stick to their professional personal email?
Great question. Yeah, I always recommend using your school email address. That just kind of backs up the role you're putting on your resume as a student, which we'll showcase later in the education section. And having that .edu is backs all that up, and will show to employers that you are a student.
And that you all are awesome dolphins too. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely. So my favorite section of the resume is the summary of qualifications. And this is going to be the very first thing right after the header that they'll read. And this is going to be a snapshot within 4 to 6 bullet points of your top most relevant skills, experiences, knowledge, proficiencies, and programs that are detailed and related towards the position you're applying to. So as I mentioned kind of briefly earlier, this will be a section, this will be one part of the resume that should be adapted and changed, modified in part for every position that you apply to. We want to refrain from just kind of overused or maybe kind of more general statements like great verbal and written communication skills, but get into maybe certain experiences or technical skills that you've used that relate to a position. And we'll see, some examples on the next slide that you can kind of see if, Marta is applying to an international relations position where in the position they'll be speaking Spanish. And so right away, they make that very clear in their summary of qualifications, directly relating their experiences to that opportunity. So they talk about their knowledge of building relationships with community leaders and mentors, as well as their knowledge and understanding and passion and interest with communicating and interacting with Spanish-speaking populations, as well as being able to utilize their fluency in Spanish. And so this gives you an indication that, hey, I right away, I have these relevant skills and they directly really relate to you employer. Now, I want to take a pause here because one in part reason why I talk so much about this section of the resume and talk so much about tailoring and writing your resume towards a position is because we will sometimes in our office talk about application tracking systems. What those are, and in short, they're called ATS. Employers will use application tracking systems for scanning resumes. If they get a bunch of applications, they'll use application tracking systems. They'll scan the resumes for certain key buzzwords. You may have heard of that before. And if your resume doesn't have enough key buzzword, it won't go to a human to read. It won't pass the system. It won't go to the next round. And so point of the story here is we want to be sure that we're including as many key buzzwords on our document, on our resume, and on our cover letter as much as possible, so that not only do they pass the systems, but whether or not they're using the systems in the first place, it's a way to tailor the document. So in saying that, we want to be putting in as many key buzzwords from the job description that you'll read as much as possible. Now, you may be thinking, or the question may come up, well, Jake, how do I know what those key buzzwords are? How do I know what they are from the job description or the program description? How am I able to find them or know which ones to put? Well, essentially, only really the employer knows that answer, but what we can tell you, and a great strategy to go into this, is to read the job description, read the program description a few times over and ask yourself, what is the employer here really emphasizing? What skills are they really emphasizing? What technical skills or programs do they want the candidate to use in this opportunity? What kind of experiences are they emphasizing for the candidates to have bringing into this opportunity? Or proficiencies in programs. So having that knowledge, and then, those words and phrases that you gather that they're emphasizing, that they're stressing, and these words and phrases are, again, skills, knowledge, experiences that they really care about. And then you'll have this list of key buzzwords, these key skills and knowledge and experiences. And then you ask yourself, okay, how have I done this before? In what way? And then you try to make that connection for yourself. And this presents a really great, this section here, the summary of qualification, presents a really great opportunity to include those key buzzwords. So if maybe they mention in this job description Spanish a few times over, this person is being very intentional in including that word. Or, essentially if they add in community or relationship building, they're mentioning that, and they're putting that word on their document so that they ensure that they're having the key buzzwords, reflected on their resume.
Quick question, Jake. For our bilingual students, do you recommend that they, even though the position isn't highlighting a specific language, do you recommend that our bilingual students go ahead and add like a bullet of their second language?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
It's a great skill to showcase, and any employer would be absolutely lucky to be able to hire someone who is fluent in multiple languages.
I think Sebastian has a question, Jake.
Yeah, Sebastian.
So I'm wondering, like, here's what I have on my resume as far as like, also see when it comes to like some different jobs, like right now, as of now, I have known for building strong long-term relationships with employees and extensive knowledge and passion for customer service, which of course, little do people realize, if you interpret it correctly, it applies to pretty much almost any sort of job. How are those, and what others would be like good ideas as far as like, see, because the careers that are relevant to me are like government jobs and law enforcement jobs. So what others would be some good qualifications? Like, say, I would say right now my Spanish is semi-fluent, and see, I can't really think of any other skills off the top of my head though.
I think those are great, what you've shared, and really, I think it kind of goes back to, the specific opportunities that intrigue you and what they're asking for specifically. So, for instance, if, a foreign service officer position, you're going to be, required to do outreach in different capacities, right? Or maybe be able to organize events or functions or programs in that respect. You want to be showcasing your experiences with outreach, your experiences with creating events, with creating programming. This is all hypothetical here, of course, but I think if you notice the particular things that they're really caring about for an opportunity that interests you, then you want to start asking yourself the questions, okay, how have I done this before? And then making that connection is truly what I think is the ticket to being able to tailor and edit your resume over time. But great, I think that's really great. I mean, think about it too, Sebastian, right? You have that customer service experience, you have that knowledge and passion for helping and serving others, but maybe talk about it in a specific setting that relates to the employer, right? So maybe even mentioning that part to add some detail in to make that more pertinent for them.
Jake, and Sebastian brought up a great point. So he said he's not fluent in Spanish, but he can't communicate in Spanish. Do you recommend that our students, if they're not fluent, but they can have a conversation and with somebody in Spanish, do you recommend that they put, like maybe like minimal Spanish or ability to communicate in Spanish to highlight that skill as well, even though they're not fluent in the language, they can still communicate with people?
Yeah, great question. So, you can even put, so one thing, just as much as we all know, like, right, the resume should be a transparent document because it's all fair game in the interview. So, if you're conversational, if that's your level of speaking for a certain language, you can put that. And that's fine. I've seen that many times in resumes, conversational and
So
in
basically
language.
saying conversational means like, I mean, although you may not be fluent, but you can at least you can communicate in Spanish. It's just that, like, let's say there may be times where they know that if you put conversational, that means you can, but there are also times when you may not be able to.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty generic term. That's partly understood in respect to, you know, not being fluent. I think fluent on the outside would be, you know, I'm able to carry the, you know, a conversation every time. Conversational is, you know, the way I perceive it is, you know, maybe the level just below fluent. So yeah, I think, you know, that's a great question, and there's many ways to kind of write that on your resume, as long as, you know, just again, you know, the transparency is there, which, you know, I wouldn't forecast being any issue from anybody here or anything like that. But because yeah, as we know, in the interview, it's all fair game that they can bring up and ask what they're reading on the resume. But yeah,
Jake, Andrea has a question.
yeah, Andrew.
Yes, I had a question. Is this where we would put like our strengths, like the strengths finder? Like if it was a general like resume, can I just add in like what my top 10 or something are? Or would that not be a good idea?
That's a really good question. You know, I think if you know the opportunity you are applying to is in a capacity where you're going to be administering the Strengths Finder or talking about the Strengths Finder, then definitely adding that. I think it you know, it could be something where you mentioned, you know, you just like, you know, your experience taking the Strengths Finder or knowledge of taking the, you know, these different assessments. If you understand that you're going to be administering or talking about assessments in your work of that capacity, I think that is a great thing to add to your LinkedIn profile. In like a summary, in your summary section for your LinkedIn profile, and just even maybe referring to, like, you know, what that means for you in your work, right, in your cover letter, right? So you could even make reference to it in your cover letter. But I would say the best place for that is your LinkedIn profile.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's keep going here. Education section. So this is pretty straightforward, folks. You know, you're going to add your Cal, you know, state, you know, university, Channel Islands information, any other higher education institution where you've received degrees. And then, you know, we can kind of show you the format on this next slide here. Keep going. Yeah. So you'll list it out with the full title of your degree, Bachelor's of Arts or Bachelor's of Science in, you know, X study. And then the full title, I would actually write out the full title of CSU, California State University, and put Channel Islands, Camarillo, California location. And then the date, month, and year you see here is when you graduate. And I've been asked before, well, Jake, you know, I'm not graduating until May 2022. Can I put it? Yeah, absolutely. It's inferred when you put that on there. It's you know, it's inferred by those reading it that is when you will be graduating. That is when you will be done with the Bachelor's of X in X field. So this is the kind of format and layout for that. You can also include any study abroad. You can you could very much include any academic awards you've received in this section of the education section. You could even include your relevant coursework within the education section as well. Mm-hmm. Or, as we talked about before, relevant coursework, it could be its own section and where you list out the full title of the courses you've completed that relate to the position. All right, so the experience sections. So this is where you'll, in the chronological format, list out work experiences you've held. You know, you can also do the same with projects. Again, this is not just, paid work, but any type of involvement, internships, any type of involvement where you've had an experience, you've had some sort of role, and you were able to use transferable skills. And then you'll want to write accomplishment statements, at least 3, and those are in bullet point format per listing. And as Ramon and I were talking about this earlier today, you can have a related experience where you put that up more towards the top. And then you could have, more kind of just work experience, more general of other experiences that may be in another industry. And that's fine. It's totally fine. But yeah, an experience section could look like, if we show you on the next slide, it could be formatted just like this, right? So this person, Marta, they were very intentional with how they listed the titles of their sections. They even put international professional experience and community involvement. So this was incredibly intentional from them, knowing that the position they're applying to is an international relations position that incorporates leadership skills, community involvement, and mentorship within that. So they made their sections based off of what they're applying to and kind of reflecting it back to the employers. So they have an international professional experience with their event planner work, as well as their publicity coordinator work and their community involvement work. And again, if you do this listings, you would list everything reverse chronologically with the most recent first, oldest last in each respective section. But the 3 bullet points, and we're going to get into that. So we'll keep going to the next slide.
Is there a quick question, Jake? Is there a max bullet points that you recommend?
Great question. So we typically will say, having at least 3 and no more than 4 to 6, 3 to 6, right? So
okay.
We don't want it to be too much to overtake or, have it take too much space of your document. And we recommend for all current students like yourselves to have 1 page resume document.
Okay, very important.
All right, so this also my humble opinion is the hardest part of the resume, which is writing the accomplishment statements. And we do have a 3-part formula that we like to talk about in terms of writing these accomplishment statements, and this goes by action verb, strong action verb, plus object equals results. And that 3-part formula, there's a purpose behind each of those 3 parts. The strong action verb grabs the reader's attention. So we see here on this example, organized. The plus object is, okay, what was going on? What was the person doing? Blackboards, residence halls, and then equals results to create a clean and functional appearance. So bringing it back to them, right? So maybe if I'm applying to a position where I know organization is maybe a key buzzword or something that they really care about, my action verb is reflecting that and I'm getting that key buzzword there. Or maybe I know that they also care about, following orders and procedures, and, within that, I'm letting them know I've done this before. So these are 3 different sections of this, this 3-piece formula here. And each piece, you can tell, you can add in a key buzzword, whether it's an action verb, strong action verb. And mind you, by the way, the link that Bonnie put for the resume handbook, that 80-page document that we talked about earlier, on pages 8 and 9 of that handbook, have a 2-page list of strong action verbs. That's extremely helpful. So if you go on that handbook and go to page 8 and 9, the handbook that Bonnie gave to you all, that's going to show you those key strong action verbs, and that's just really helpful in terms of helping you in writing these accomplishment statements and getting ideas and thoughts. So you want to use bullet points, and again, starting out with the action verb, trying to be concise but providing enough detail as well to get a full line point. So we can kind of show you some examples here. I know we're coming close to the time here for us all today, but orchestrated large-scale community events such as the Food and Wine Festival and Fiesta de Noche, assisted in vegetarian kitchen 6 days a week by preparing and serving meals to community members. And we try to have the one little word that's off by one line, get onto the same line there or expand it out a little bit. That would be the hope. But you can see that, and the strong action verbs are highlighted there. Following these 3 parts is important. And, saying to yourself, okay, what do I want to tell them? What transferable skills have I used in this opportunity and that relate to the position, and how can I showcase that in an accomplishment statement?
And the great thing about this workshop is that, you can practice on your own. And then once you have a rough draft, our career counselors are more than willing to sit down with you and help you, finalize it, and they'll give you their feedback and whatnot. So it's good just to practice on your own. And then the awesome career counselors, they'll be more than willing to sit down with you and help you with this. This is probably one of the hardest parts in a resume, is to develop the bullet points. I know for me, that was one of the most difficult parts. Is like, oh my God, like, how can I really brag about myself, or, really highlight my skills in this position, and keep every single bullet point fresh and original. So if you're struggling with that, it's okay. The career counselors will be more than willing to sit down with you and help you with that.
Yeah. So we don't have any time today to practice that in terms of respect with time, and a couple more minutes here, but just the last couple sections you can include on your resume for that one page is an honors awards section, recognizing any recognitions you received, or professional development, including any memberships you've held in organizations or leadership roles, or events that you've participated and were a member of. So you can see in the next slide, what this section would look like just real closely here. Yeah, again, you have the title of your involvement, and then the dates on the right side, as well as any honors awards too. You can do the same kind of format and layout for that as well.
Well, real quick question, Jake. What if any of our students have won like some scholarships or whatnot? Do you recommend that they go ahead and put that information in there?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
That's really important. Or you can even include that in your education section.
Okay, got it.
So really, you have some opportunities there, options, and that's the resume. Folks, and I know, again, we're coming close to our time here. We have some things to kind of mention as we wrap up. We have Dolphin Connect, our online mentorship platform. This is a incredibly great opportunity for you all as current students to network with alumni and mentors within the fields of your interests, and who are on there to dedicate their time to share advice. So it's a platform that works kind of like LinkedIn, which we always recommend for you to be on as well. But it's our own community version of LinkedIn, and it's really, really awesome. So you can sign up today. It's on your MyCI portal. It's one of those single sign-ups.
Hey.
Follow DOS on YouTube.
Yeah. Thank you, Jake. So Bonnie will go ahead and put the URL in the chat. So all these sessions that we have every week as part of the Virtual Skills Workshop series, they're on our YouTube channel. So please feel free to check us out. Check out all of the previous workshops that we have. This one will be on there as well as part of the series. So if you want to share it with your friends, please feel free to share that information. Or if you want to just go back and refer to the information that we shared with you today, please do. Just real quick, I know we're running low on time here, so we are very fortunate to have Career with us next week as well to do a job hunt and internship resource. So we're kind of continuing the theme of career. I know some of you are really excited and are graduating this semester and are like, yeah, let's get the ball rolling. Or some of you are looking for internships as well to kind of get the ball rolling. So join us next week for a job hunt. Jake will be joining us as well. So we are very excited to have him back with us next week. Then we're also on March 5th, we're having a Get a Grip on Test Anxiety workshop. And then on April 2nd, Jake will be back to join us for a career fair prep. As many of you are aware, we do have a career fair prep at the university where we have employers come to our university to hire students like yourself. That is the sole purpose of the career fair, is to have employers come out and hire you either as employees, interns, or interns that turn into employees, right? They get a great opportunity. Once they graduate, they can become full-time. So, this is a great opportunity. Obviously, we'll be in the virtual environment this semester, and it will all be done virtual, but Jake and his team will walk you through what that looks like. So we're very excited to have these upcoming workshops. Let me see, I think we have a few questions. Okay, so the YouTube channel link is on the chat, and then Jake put his email on there as well. Please reach out to Jake with any questions or concerns that you have. Schedule an appointment. The link is also in the chat, or at least copy and paste these links and put them on your, on a Word document, and then, go back and make the appointment. But, they're there for you right now. They're free. The services is free because you are students, you're current CI students. So take advantage of these resources. You don't want to be, a couple weeks before graduation and trying to get your resume worked on. Because it's tough. It's tough, right, Jake? Do you have anything to share?
Yeah, thank you, Ramon. I appreciate it. I just putting in a couple other links here. The one Sebastian, just to let you know, and everyone else, on U.S. Department of State, that's a Google Doc form to register for that day. It's March 1st on 1 p.m. Pacific time. And we also have our virtual mentorship and networking night, as mentioned before, for careers in psychology and sociology. I just put the link for that as well. Information and registration link is on that website. We're here to help. Myself, Lisa, Andrew, Jessica, we're all very excited to meet with you all. We hope that you schedule appointments with us, and so we can talk a little bit further with you all in terms of how we can help or what you want to do, and in terms of your career and career pursuits. Definitely access us. We're ready to help anytime we can.
Go ahead, Lisa. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I see a student with a hand up.
Thank you, Lisa. Andrea, do you have a question?
Yeah, the first link that Bonnie sent to the Career Center, it doesn't work on my end. I don't know if you could resend the link or show me how to make an appointment.
Oh, okay, that's an important link.
I can quickly get that for.
Yeah, if you can get that, that'd be great. I'm excited, Andrea, that you're scheduling an appointment. I hope all of you here are also scheduling an appointment with our career counselors and taking advantage of this great opportunity. Sebastian, you had a question?
Yeah. Okay. I just registered, but I forgot to put my resume. Is there any way I can stick the resume in my register part?
On the Google Docs for the information session?
Yes. I didn't put my resume.
You can resubmit. Just fill out another one, I would recommend, and you could just say in the notes, already submitted, just re-uploading.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Great. So let's just go ahead and wrap it up here. So the Multicultural Dream Center has a bunch of study groups, affinity groups. They focus on cultural awareness as well. You can RSVP for some of their awesome groups and activities they have going on as well. So I highly recommend you visit the Multicultural Dream Center and get information from them and join some of their workshops as well. It's a great opportunity. And so what I'm going to do now is I know we went over on time, so I'm just going to shut off the recording here. You're more than welcome to stay and ask any questions that you have. And so let me go ahead and do that now. Sorry, I'm new to this recording. Bonnie usually does the recording. So